Welcome back to the Sky Garden, where every week proves that you don't need a large backyard to grow an incredible amount of fresh food. Right here on this balcony, using a collection of simple buckets, quality soil, and a little fertilizer, and consistent care, we're watching a small urban garden turn into a surprisingly productive vegetable patch. This week marks another exciting milestone as the garden shifts from producing the occasional harvest to delivering fresh vegetables almost every day. The cherry tomato plants are loaded with ripe fruit once again, and they're producing faster than I can keep up with. Every trip onto the balcony seems to reveal another handful of bright, sweet tomatoes ready to pick. And that's exactly the kind of success every gardener hopes for. The pepper plants continue to steal the show. After weeks of watching them grow, they're finally harvesting a beautiful full-sized green bell pepper with thick walls and excellent color. Alongside it are more jalapeños, another harvest from our ongoing mystery pepper plant. And an update on the long cowhorn peppers that's had an interesting week after showing some unexpected damage. Gardening is full of surprises, and not every pepper ends up looking picture perfect. But every challenge teaches us something new about growing healthy plants. We'll also be pulling another fresh radish, trimming more green onions, and taking a look at how the rest of the garden is progressing. The tomatoes continue climbing their cages, the peppers are settling even more fruit, and the entire balcony is becoming greener and more productive with each passing week. It's rewarding to see months of planning and daily care paying off in baskets of fresh vegetables that go straight from the garden to the kitchen. One of the things I enjoy most about sharing this series is showing the real gardening experience. Along with the successes come unexpected problems, mystery plants, insect visitors, weather challenges, and a little lesson that makes every season different. Whether everything goes perfectly or not, there's always something to learn, and that's part of what makes gardening so enjoyable. So grab your favorite drink, settle in, and join me as we harvest another week's worth of fresh vegetables, investigate a few surprises, and see just how much this balcony garden has produced. If you're growing your own food this season, I hope these weekly updates inspire you to keep experimenting, keep learning, and most importantly, keep growing. I'm Rod, and this is the Sky Garden. Let's head out to the balcony and see what week 12 has in store. Welcome back to Sky Garden 2026, week 12 garden tour. A lot going on this week in the garden. Here is the 5-year-old chive plant. As you can see here, if I move some of these things out of the way, we're starting to get some buds sprouting here, so we should have some flowers on here by next week. That always brings in the pollinators, which is going to be good for the other plants. Then we have our cubanellas. I've harvested a few of those. There's a whole bunch on here, a really big one down here. Got some lettuce down in the bottom. It's coming along. Lettuce in the bottom of the next cubanella. There's some big ones on here too. So I'm gonna have some nice sweet peppers this week. I'm gonna be making a pizza probably tomorrow. So that'll be really good on the pizza. Now we have our cowhorns. This has been confirmed by a buddy of mine who loves his hot peppers. He agrees that this is a cowhorn. So there they are. we've got a red one happening on here, way down in there. There's a red one. Got some green onions in the bottom there. Here's the other cowhorn pepper. Now I found a pepper that had a rotten spot on it on this plant. So I checked around very, very carefully, and I found a grasshopper sitting on there. So I got rid of that sucker real fast. I'm gonna have to keep an eye on these, make sure the guy doesn't come back. I only found one, so I'm hoping that that's all it is. Way up here on the 17th floor. Don't know how he got up here. Well, they can fly, so that's how we got up here. Next up, we have our Sweet Million cherry tomatoes. A lot of red ones on here. There's a couple back there. Whole bunch down here. These are back up to the ceiling again. So I have to decide whether or not I'm gonna take the board out of the bottom and set them right on the ground, or if I'm just gonna trim the tops. But there's a lot of red tomatoes on there. Carrots down in the bottom. Then next up we have our slicing beefsteak tomatoes. Oh, it just started raining. Check that out. It's raining. Now we have one red one on the beefsteak tomatoes here. It's not very big, but if you look real close, way back in there, you can see a red one. Then, holy, is it ever pouring rain here now? Then we have our next Sweet Millions. Again, a bunch of red ones on there, all the way up to the ceiling. Then next up we have the first of the Roma tomatoes. Still a big problem with blossom end rot. That's kind of driving me crazy. We're starting to get some here that are actually starting to blush. So I'll probably have some of those soon. Look at that. There's a whole lot on there that are starting to turn red. It's a determinate tomato, so it's only gonna get this tall. That's the top there. Then next up, we have our cucumbers. This one is going crazy up here. It's right up to the ceiling. And I've got it to branch way out over top of the other tomatoes. Almost reached all the way over to the peppers. And it looks like my hand pollination has worked, because there's a cucumber back there. We have some pretty big cucumbers coming on here. There's a big one back there, look at that. So that's from hand pollination. There's another one. There's some down here. Where are they? There's one there happening. A lot of male flowers. So I've been using those to rub against the females, which has been pollinating them. So that is actually working. Next up, we have a really loud truck going by. Let's wait a second for that. Okay, next up we have another Roma tomato. There's a whole lot of tomatoes on there. Again, some blossom end rot has been driving me crazy. So that's that. Let me squeeze by here. Oh, I gotta squeeze in here, suck in that gut. Okay, so here's another Roma with a whole lot of tomatoes on there. Again, some of them are starting to blush, so I just might get some of those soon. Then next up, we have our Scotch bonnets. There's a Scotch bonnet there. I've harvested a couple of these for my buddy, my golf buddy that likes the peppers, the hot peppers. There's another one down there. I don't see any of them turning red now, but they will soon. There's another one. Then we have our jalapeños. A whole lot of jalapeños on there. I've been harvesting those again for my golf buddy. He likes the hot peppers. So there's a whole bunch on this one here too. This is number 2 of the jalapeños. The radishes in the bottom of these 3. Whoop, I'm caught on a branch. There we go. There they are there. They've been really nice. I put those in the salad. So I've been harvesting those like crazy. So I gotta plant some more. They grow really fast, so I'll probably get 1, maybe even 2 more crops out of that. Here's the beans. We got some beans to harvest on there. So they will be good too. A lot of flowers. As soon as I picked the first batch, this thing sprung back to life. And it flowered up again. So that's gonna be good. Then we have the barbecue. Then we have some green onions. They're coming along very slowly, but they are coming along. Then we have the stunted pepper plant. I don't know how it got zoomed again. There's the pepper plant. Then the tomato plant. Again, the stunted one. It actually has 1 tomato starting to ripen up down there. So that's nice. Gotta get by, squeeze back by here again. Yeah, that tomato plant has grown up and it's drooped over all the way down there. Then we have our spinach plants, which are a complete disaster. I planted those too late, and I planted them in the middle of a heat wave, so they went to seed almost right away. So that didn't work out. I'm real happy with these cucumbers. The hand pollination worked out. There's a really big one back there. Now you got to remember, with cucumbers, you can't let them ripen, because as soon as a cucumber ripens, the entire plant will stop producing more cucumbers. So I got to keep an eye on those. Whew, it got really humid really fast. You can see that. Looks like it's fog, but it's just all the humidity in the air from the rain. Now here, let's show you there's all the tomatoes with the blossom end rot that I've thrown out. There's that pepper that got eaten by the grasshopper. I'll show you that at the end. Of course, there's my beer. Gotta have that. And here we have the basil plant. It's in too small of a pot. Doesn't get enough fertilizer either, so I'll have to give that some extra fertilizer. And here is the parsley plant. Again, needs more fertilizer and a bigger pot. So that's it for Sky Garden, week 12. Go all the way down there, all the way up to the ceiling. Doing really well. A lot happened this week, so coming up next, I will talk about the harvest that I got this week, and we'll talk about the pepper that got chewed by what I think was the grasshopper. That's the most logical explanation, since I actually found a grasshopper on the plant. Anyway, there it is. Week 12 garden tour. This week's harvest is a great example of why patience pays off in the garden. After weeks of watching these plants grow, we're finally bringing in some beautiful vegetables. On the left is another healthy jalapeno, deep green and ready to pick. Beside it is my first full-size green pepper of the season. It's thick, firm, and exactly what I've been hoping for. There's nothing quite like harvesting a pepper you've watched develop from a tiny flower into a full-sized vegetable. The harvest bowl is filled up nicely this week. Bright red cherry tomatoes continue to ripen by the handful, and they're joined by a beautiful radish, fresh green onions, leafy greens, and 2 large sweet peppers. Seeing everything together really shows how productive this small balcony garden has become. It's amazing how much fresh food can come from a few containers when the plants are healthy and consistently cared for. The harvest keeps growing. Alongside another basket of sweet cherry tomatoes, we've picked several jalapeños, the first large bell pepper, a couple of long mystery peppers, fresh greens, and more radishes. Every week there's a little more variety, and it's rewarding to see several different crops reaching maturity at the same time. This is exactly the stage of the season where the garden begins giving back for all the work that's gone into it. Here are today's peppers all together. The jalapeno is easy to recognize, but the other two continue the mystery that started with those mislabeled plants earlier in the season. One has turned into a beautiful sweet pepper, while the long curved pepper has a completely different shape and growth habit than expected. Although they weren't what the label promised, they've certainly become one of the most interesting parts of this year's garden. Here's a closer look at the damaged cowhorn pepper. The brown, sunken area developed after I noticed the grasshopper on a nearby plant earlier this week. My best guess is the grasshopper damaged the skin first, allowing the hot summer sun to scorch the exposed tissue afterward. Fortunately, the rest of the pepper remains healthy, and the plant itself is still producing well. Situations like this are a reminder that every garden faces occasional pest damage, but healthy plants usually continue to grow just fine. Looking from another angle, you can really see how localized the damage is. The affected area is limited to one section of the pepper, while the rest of the fruit remains firm and healthy. I'll remove this pepper so the plant can focus its energy on the remaining fruit. Gardening isn't about perfection. It's about learning from these challenges and keeping the plants as healthy as possible moving forward. As we wrap up another week here in the Sky Garden, it's amazing to look back and see just how far this little balcony has become. Just a few months ago, these buckets held tiny seedlings that needed constant attention. Today, they're overflowing with tomatoes, peppers, herbs, onions, and fresh vegetables that are finding their way straight into the kitchen. Every harvest is a reminder that even a small space can produce an incredible amount of food with a little patience and consistent care. This week's harvest was another exciting one. The cherry tomatoes continue to produce by the handful. The first full-size bell pepper has finally ready to pick. The mystery peppers are proving an unexpected success, and even the radishes and green onions are adding fresh flavor to our meals. Of course, we also saw the garden isn't always perfect. The damaged cowhorn pepper reminded us that insects, weather, and unexpected are all part of the growing experience. Every challenge teaches us something, and every season makes us better gardeners. One of my favorite parts of this series is sharing both the successes and the setbacks. It's easy to show only the perfect harvests, but real gardening is about learning, adapting, and enjoying the process. Sometimes plants don't grow exactly as planned. Sometimes labels turn out to be wrong. And sometimes nature throws us a curveball. Those moments often become the most valuable lessons of the season. Looking ahead, the garden shows no signs of slowing down. Most tomatoes are beginning to ripen every day. Additional peppers are getting larger. Flowers continue to set new fruit, and the plants are still healthy and full of life. If everything continues to cooperate, the coming weeks should bring even bigger harvests and perhaps a few more surprises from those mystery pepper plants. It'll be exciting to see how much this little urban garden can produce before the growing season comes to an end. I hope these weekly updates encourage you to try growing something on your own. Whether it's a single tomato plant on a balcony, a few herbs on a windowsill, or an entire backyard vegetable garden. Gardening doesn't require a lot of space. It just takes a willingness to start, to learn from your mistakes, and to enjoy watching something grow from seed to harvest. If you've enjoyed the following, along with this week's update, I'd really appreciate if you'd give this video a thumbs up, share it with another gardener, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Every like, every comment, and every subscription helps the channel grow and allows me to keep sharing these weekly garden adventures with all of you. I'd also love to hear from you in the comments. How is your garden doing this week? What are you harvesting right now? And have you ever had a mystery plant or a mislabeled pepper surprise you? Sharing our experiences helps all of us become better gardeners, and I always enjoy reading your stories. Thank you so much for spending part of your day with me and joining me on another week of this gardening journey. Until next time, keep growing, keep learning, and never underestimate what you can accomplish in a small space. I'm Rod. This has been Sky Garden Week 12, and I'll see you next week with another update from the balcony garden. Happy gardening, everyone.